Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be going over some fragrances that to me, they ooze confidence. They're classy, they have a level of sophistication, and best of all, they all smell great. Fantastic even. I have some great fragrances on this list. Stay tuned. What is good, YouTube? Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mikey Cologne and I'm your host for today. That is right, I've got some great fragrances to talk about today. Some niche, some designer, a few a little bit more expensive. There's a couple of inexpensive ones on the list. But before I do get going, if you do enjoy my content, hit that subscribe button. Always press the bell because it will notify you when I drop a review at a later date. Plus, I have a code for you lot. If you're interested in any fragrances from the house of Unique Luxury, go over to their website where it says coupon code, put in Mikey-Kute23 and that will give you 15% off your order. I don't know, no commission. I don't get paid nothing. It's for you lot to save yourself some dough. And if you want any samples and you do live in the UK, check out Small Aromas. Right, I'm going to get going. I'm going to try and go through this as quick as I can, but I do have to explain a little bit about the fragrances. And first off, I'm going to start with a fragrance from the house of Kajal. And this is Faris. Beautiful looking bottle, stunning presentation, and the juice. Man, this stuff smells good. It really does. Great atomizer. This, my friends, is refined. This is classy. This is masculine. You got a ton of notes as well. You got lavender, juniper berries, apple, bergamot, lemon, orange, nutmeg, rose, jasmine, clove, coriander, sandalwood, amber, vetiver, tonka bean, and patchouli. This opens up fresh, aromatic, spicy, citrusy, and then after about a minute or so, then the apple comes through, which supplies a little bit of a fruity touch to the fragrance, but it is more citrusy and aromatic than what it is fruity. Now, after a few minutes, you start getting a little bit of a woodsy tone that comes through, which is coming from the juniper berries. Plus, the juniper berries is helping out on the aromatic side of things. Let me tell you something. The lavender in this fragrance is very, very smooth. It's almost buttery. It is that smooth. Now, as it starts to settle in, it's one of them fragrances. The juniper berry starts the woodsy side off, but as it dries down, it starts to get woods heavy, on my skin anyway, and the vetiver comes through. Now, I do get earthy qualities from this fragrance, but it's not like a full-on dirty earthy. It's more of a clean earthy tone, if that makes sense. I know people think earthy smells dirty. It just doesn't have that dirty edge to it. Where everything's so refined and smoothed out, it really does come across like a clean fragrance. And when this starts getting sort of mid to dry down, you got the tonka bean and the amber, which bring in a little bit of a balsamic, warm, rich tone, and it sort of warms the fragrance up a little bit, but always stays fresh. This fragrance is in the realm of Dior Sauvage, Prada Carbon. So it's not completely unique, but this has the upper hand because this is very refined, very smooth. This is the quality of this juice. When you smell it, there's nothing screechy about this fragrance. Just when you smell it, order yourself a sample, and when you smell it, you will notice the difference. It might remind you a little bit of Dior Sauvage and, like I said, Prada Carbon, because them two fragrances are a little bit similar to each other. This might remind you of them, but the quality is, it's upper class. It really is. And this is a great fragrance for when you're dressed up. You can wear this to the office. If you have to go to board meetings or you wear a suit to work, Get this fragrance and wear this. It is a head turner. It smells great. Aromatic, woodsy, spicy, citrusy, like I say, almost buttery. Great fragrance. Longevity, 8+ hours. And that is Faris from Kajol. When I was looking at my fragrances and I thought to myself, this fragrance has to go on the list. It just has to. I think this fragrance, it's one of my favourite fragrances. It is Ganymede from Marc Antoine Mauer. What a stunning fragrance this is. This to me is a true niche fragrance. It does things different. It's a little bit daring to wear. It's a little bit unusual, which, my friends, is a good thing, because you do not want to be smelling like everybody else. I know it can't be helped sometimes, and this thing is a powerhouse. I get 10+ hours with this fragrance. I'm not even going to spray it. I'm just going to read you the notes and get into it, but I'll show you the bottle quickly. This is 100ml, and it is eau de parfum concentration, but boy, for an eau de parfum concentration, this thing slaps. This is strong. You've got mineral notes, suede, saffron, akigala wood, violet leaf, Italian mandarin, immortelle, and Chinese osmanthus. This is busy when this opens up. It's fresh, it's ozonic, it's a little bit salty, it's minerally, it's citrusy, it's woodsy. You've got all this going on when this first opens up. It is like an explosion of notes. And then after about a minute or so, you get the suede. And to me, the saffron, I think, helps out the suede, because the suede here comes more across like leather than what it does suede. Not rough, not rugged, but this really does have a leathery tone to the fragrance. So I think the saffron pushes in some spice, but also backs up the suede just to boost that suede accord even more, and then it creates this leathery quality. Now, it starts to settle in, the Italian mandarin is present, and it's not screaming in your face, it's just enough to give this fragrance a little bit of a fresh citrusy quality. And as it starts to dry down, that mandarin fizzles out, and then the osmanthus takes over. So it's citrusy, and then sort of turns ever so slightly fruity, and I mean very lightly. With all this, like I say, it's woodsy. This has a cold metallic tinge to the fragrance, especially when it first opens up. And as it does settle in, that metallic tone or that metallic touch that this fragrance has, that fizzles out. Now, to me, the immortelle in Ganymede comes across smelling a little bit like a tobacco leaf, like dry hay. A little bit sweet. It does give this fragrance a dry quality, especially as this dries down, and it does go woods heavy on my skin. It is musky, so it's salty, minerally, citrusy, spicy, woodsy, leathery, a bit dry. It's a stunning fragrance. It's unusual, and like I say, that is one of the reasons why I love this fragrance. The perfumer is Quinton Biche, and for the past couple of years, he's been making a ton of fragrances. He's made some fragrances for Jean-Paul Gaultier. I mean, I could read you a list. Look up Quinton Biche, and probably some of your fragrances that you own at home, he's probably the perfumer behind some of them scents, because he has done a ton, especially as of late. But anyway, Ganymede, this is classy, my friends. This is going out, dressed up, looking dapper, shirt, nice pair of trousers, shoes, or if you're just dressed smart and you're going out for a few drinks with the lads, wear this fragrance and it will last the whole night. A couple of sprays. Now I'm going to a designer fragrance. This fragrance got released in 2000. Now, obviously, you know, it's 2024. So it's 24 years old. This does not smell outdated one bit. It really doesn't. This is Guerlain's Vetiver. You have to appreciate Vetiver to appreciate this fragrance. It is a classic fragrance, there's no doubt about it. To me, it does give off a little bit of an old school vibe, but it comes across modernised, because I'm not a lover of old school fragrances. I have to, or it has to be the right fragrance for me to appreciate it. And this does give off a little bit of that old school fougere-ish style. But like I say, it's definitely modernised, and there is a ton of notes in this fragrance. A ton. Bergamot, tobacco, lemon, nutmeg, neroli, coriander, mandarin orange, vetiver, pepper, carnation, sage, orris root, sandalwood, vetiver, oak moss, leather, myrrh, civet, tonka bean, amber. Damn, that is a big note breakdown. But you lot must be thinking, all them notes. The vetiver is the focal point of this fragrance, hence the name. It does open up fresh, spicy, citrusy. The neroli and the lemon really do shine off of my skin, and they really do give this a succulent, juicy, citrusy quality. But with this, you've got an earthy, woodsy vetiver. And plus, I get this aniseed smell only for the first, I would say, 7 to 10 minutes. Maybe it's the carnation mixing in with the coriander, but something comes off smelling a little bit like aniseed on my skin, but then that fizzles out. And that is the only part I do not enjoy about this fragrance. I wouldn't say I hate it. To me, my brain thinks it doesn't belong there. But apart from that, this is a solid scent. Some people like the smell of aniseed. I'm not a lover of it. But the reason why it is on this list, because it is a superb fragrance and the quality of this juice. So yeah, anyway, starts out citrusy, the neroli, the lemon. You really do get a nice dose of the citruses. As it starts drying down, it's green, it's aromatic, it's a little bit herbal. The vetiver amps up a little bit more. Now it's coming across a little bit soily, the earthy quality stays, a little bit of smoke comes through. And then basically that is how the fragrance sits. Now, to me, this does have a very light powdery touch to the fragrance, which would be coming from the orris root. Nothing really comes across creamy in this fragrance. And I do get a pencil shavings smell sort of when it's nearly at its dry down. And I think that is the sandalwood. Let me recap. Aromatic, fresh, citrusy, spicy, woodsy, earthy, a touch powdery, green, herbal. It's a great fragrance, and you can find this, especially at discounters. Look over on Notino's website, or maybe All Beauty if you live in the UK, and you can pick these up sometimes when they have sales at a great price. Like, I think I paid £65 for this 100ml. Man, it is worth that. You're going to get 7 to 8 hours out of it. This is a great day-to-day fragrance if you're dressing smart, and it's definitely got a mature edge to it. Deserves to be on this list. Classy, sophisticated, and that is Guerlain's vetiver. This fragrance I'm going to talk about now, I own 5 from this brand, and every single fragrance I think I could have put on this list. And the quality of the materials, the raw materials that they use in their fragrances, you can tell that they're of very high quality. If you're looking for something that is classy, that is sophisticated, that doesn't shout but lets you know that it's there, and you enjoy patchouli, you need to try Essence de Patchouli from Paris, Monte Carlo. What a beautiful fragrance this is. This is a stunner. Love the look of the bottles. Nice looking caps. Not bad atomizer. Well, it gives out quite a lot of juice. But man, this is buttery. This is woodsy. I'm going to get into it. Clove, almond, patchouli, rose, geranium, amber, guaiac wood, sandalwood, vanilla, and labdanum. Straight away you get the patchouli, but with this I get the sandalwood. I can pick that sandalwood up straight away. And at first, so you got a little bit of sweetness coming in from the patchouli. You got some soft, warm spice that is there, and the sandalwood comes off a little bit dusty and musky at first. But as this starts to dry down, this warm, rich, balsamic, I would say lightly resinous tone that comes through. Now the fragrance starts turning creamy, and the earthy quality that I'm getting from the patchouli starts leaning or heading towards that chocolate cakey aroma that patchouli can give off. The patchouli in this fragrance works in different ways. It starts out woodsy and earthy, starts drying down, sweetens up a little bit more, then you get that chocolatey aroma from it. It's obviously woodsy, but with this you have the sandalwood, you have the labdanum, you do get vanillic touches with this fragrance. This is musky, dusty and creamy all at the same time. It really is. That is how it works on my skin, and I love the way this smells. This is intoxicating, it is sensual. This, my friends, is a great cooler evening date night fragrance when you are dressed up. If it's your first date, if you've been in a relationship for a little while and you're just going on a date with the missus, get yourself a sample of Essence de Patchouli. Sometimes patchouli fragrances can be very pungent and dark. This isn't. It's buttery, it's smooth, it's creamy, it's woodsy, it's a little bit chocolatey. Man, this is a stunning fragrance. You're going to get 6 hours out of it. Sometimes I've had 7 hours. The projection isn't massive. At first it does push well for 45 minutes to an hour, and it does rain into a nice scent bubble. But if you're on a date night and someone's close to you, they're going to pick it up. I love this fragrance. People, I urge you to try Essence de Patchouli. I believe this came out in 2010, maybe 2012. Again, not dated one bit. I wouldn't smell this, or you wouldn't smell this and think, man, that smells old. No, it doesn't. It is a timeless DNA. Stunning fragrance. Now, I've got a couple of boozy fragrances to talk about. And you lot might be thinking, the one that I'm going to talk about now, you're going to be thinking, why is he mentioning a fragrance that smells like someone's been drinking straight up Jack Daniels for 4 days? All jokes aside, this is Coute from Unique Luxury. Man, what a masterpiece this is. I love the look of the bottle, gorgeous presentation. Now, this, my friends, at first is all about whiskey. It slaps you across the chops, left, right, and bobs you on the nose. But we're going to get into it. You got whiskey, Divana, bergamot, lemon, oud, caramel, cypriol oil, tobacco, amber, vanilla, and sandalwood. Now, straight away, you get that whiskey, and it is strong, and I mean strong. It's like you've poured yourself a double JD. You put a couple of cubes of ice in and you smell it, and you get that warm, boozy, alcoholic smell. That is what you get from Coute in the opening. But once that boozy quality does start to calm down, you do get a little bit of a fresh, citrusy, aromatic quality that does come in. It becomes present. Now, as it starts to dry down, this is when, to me, this fragrance is hitting its level of sophistication, because the tobacco comes through, along with the caramel, along with the oud. Now, the tobacco here is a little bit, I would say, very lightly smoky. The caramel adds in a nice dose of sweetness, and the oud here is more of a Western style take on oud. It's warm, it's rich, it's woodsy, it's a little bit musky, and plus I think it helps out on the earthy side of things. Dries down, the fragrance is warming up, it goes a little bit resinous, balsamic. You do get ambery qualities from this fragrance, but that whiskey stays all the way through. Like, sometimes you can get a boozy fragrance that will have a big boozy opening, but once it starts going from mid to dry down, that takes a back seat. No, with Coute, the focal note is that whiskey accord, and it stays up top. You're getting straight up whiskey, dries down, and everything's just going on around it. Touches of tobacco, caramel, oud, and this fragrance is dense, it's thick, it's rich, and it's a powerhouse. I'm not even going to spray it. You only need one spray of Coute. That is all you need, even on a cold day. This thing lasts and lasts and lasts. The last time I wore this, I was wearing one of my Stone Island hoodies, jackets, zip-ups, and obviously you don't wear them and wash them, or you don't wash them every time you wear them. Man, that thing is still hanging up in the wardrobe, and this was weeks ago, and it still smells of Coute, and I only done a couple of sprays. So that just tells you that this thing is a beast. It is extrait to parfum, and I know sometimes concentration doesn't mean nothing these days because of all the parfum concentrations that have been coming out have been whack. But this is a true extrait to parfum, my friends. If you're looking for something that's boozy, sophisticated, rich, and lasts, get your paws on Coute. This will not let you down. Yeah, it's a bit pricey, but it is worth every penny. I don't mind spending money on a fragrance if it's expensive, if it's worth it. This is one of them that is worth it, no doubt. Now I'm on to the second boozy fragrance. Now to me, this fragrance has whiskey and rum in it. But on my skin, it's more about the rum. And this is coming from another house that I own 6 from. And all 6 of these fragrances are superb. Paris Monte Carlo, I think, is slept on. And Javoy Pavilion Rouge is slept on. These are gorgeous looking bottles. They look great on the shelf. And I know people sometimes don't care about the bottles. I like good presentation, and obviously I care about the juice. And boy, let me tell you something, this is going on skin. This smells great. This fragrance is slept on. I hear nobody speaking about the house of Javoy. It's called Javoy Paris. Let me just show you before I get going. Weighty metal caps. 100ml bottle. They're doing 50 and 100 mLs of the parfum concentration. You got whiskey, spices, sesame, rum, leather, tobacco, coffee, tea, ebony wood, vanilla, and benzoin. Now, you will get the whiskey straight away with some spice, and this does open up a little bit fresh, and that whiskey does have a little bit of a sharp edge to it. But then immediately with this, the rum comes through, which adds in some sweetness. It smooths that whiskey out to where it's not becoming overbearing. And then the rum starts warming Pavilion Rouge up. So whiskey, spicy, a little bit sharp, then the rum, literally after about 30 seconds, comes in. And then as it starts to dry down, it goes a little bit woodsy, it's musky. The coffee, I think here, just adds in a little bit of spice, or helps carry that spice through the fragrance. And to me, the tea accord here, it keeps the fragrance smooth. It keeps a little bit of sweetness in the fragrance alongside the rum. Plus, it lets off a very light green tone. And I do get an earthy quality from this fragrance. This is a little bit smoky. You have the tobacco, you have the leather. But to me, this is not a leather dominant fragrance. It isn't. The tobacco and the leather are always wisping in the back. And the main focal point, like I've said, is the rum on my skin. And everything is happening around this. The whiskey does fizzle out, but the rum stays all the way through. And in the base, it's a little bit vanillic, it's woodsy, it's a little bit musky and earthy. Still got a nice bit of sweetness to it, soft spice, and a little bit boozy from the rum. This is sophisticated, this is well dressed, this is put together, this is cigar lounge. Again, I'm going to say it. This, and I think this brand, is slept on. These are quite well priced. I think on Javoy's website, they're £160 for 100 ml. And that is a niche fragrance, and the quality of the juice, it is worth it. But on discounters, you can pick them up for about 135. There is a place called Fromoda. Now, you have to pay £15 delivery if you live in the UK. And on their website, they're about 130, I believe. But if you're ordering a couple of fragrances and you pay the delivery cost, the 15 quid, it's worth it. But anyway, stunning fragrance. Definitely deserves a spot on this list. It's fantastic. And again, high quality juice. Look at the bowls, look. Fingerprint magnets, yeah, but I don't care. It's worth the clean. Now we're going to a designer fragrance. And to me, this is a very nice fragrance. It is, there's no doubt about it. It's coming from the house of Tom Ford. Can you guess which one it is? I'll give you 5 seconds to guess. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is Tom Ford's Noir Extreme Parfum. This is a 50ml bottle. Nice looking bottles. Some people don't like gold looking bottles because they think it's tacky, but that doesn't bother me. I like the look of it. I think it's nice, smart. Now, my friends, this is another fragrance that has tons of notes in it, and I'll probably get half the notes that it has in it. I'm going to read them to you. I have to read them to you. You've got ginger, cardamom, spices, amber, tonka beans, orange blossom, guaiac wood, citruses, neroli, orange, rose, jasmine, and mastic. Now, what do I get when this first opens up? I get a ton of spice. The cardamom pops, the spices pop off my skin. Now, I do get a very light citrusy touch when this first opens up. On that initial blast, I get the citruses and then they are gone. I think, because, or on my skin anyway, because this opens up quite spice heavy, it's a little bit piercing on my skin. And I think some people might not find it hard to deal with, but they might not be used to that piercing edge that this fragrance has. But that does fizzle out after a couple of minutes, and then you're plain sailing. Then it starts smoothing out. Now, with this, it is woodsy, it is leathery. I think the florals in this fragrance help smooth this out as it dries down. I do get very light whiffs of rose around the edges of Noir Extreme Parfum, but that's as far, to me, as the florals go in this fragrance. Because sometimes when fellas see florals in fragrances, they might think, I ain't going near that. If you're watching this, this is not a floral fragrance. I think they're there just to help the fragrance smooth out a little bit. They put in a little bit of sweetness and, like I say, very light rose touches around the edges. As this dries down, this is resinous, this is a little bit smoky, it is vanillic. The smoky side to this does fizzle out as the fragrance dries down. Once it goes from mid to dry down, that's when the woods amp up, a musky quality comes through, and then that smoky side to this fragrance dies out. So you're left with the aroma of leather, but the smoky side to it has gone. And that is how basically the fragrance sits. Woodsy, vanillic, a little bit musky, a touch resinous, ambery, and very softly spicy in the dry down. But it's a great fragrance, no doubt about it. This is dressed up. This is for cooler evenings. You could wear this, all these fragrances you can wear in the spring, especially in the evenings. But when it gets to summertime, you have to be careful. If it's a cooler summer evening and you're out and about, or say if you're going out for dinner or drinks and you're going to be in a beer garden somewhere, these fragrances you can get away with, apart from two, which I think is Coute and the one that I'm going to talk about next. Them for me are for cooler weather, no doubt about it. But you can rock this on a cooler evening, you can rock this on a warmer evening, it doesn't matter. But anyway, that is Tom Ford Noir Extreme Parfum. Smart, sophisticated, classy, well dressed. This fragrance, it'll have you covered. Now we are on the last fragrance of the list. And this was in no particular order. They're all stunning fragrances. They're all of great quality. And I wanted to put this on the list because to me, this is well dressed. This is put together. This is, not even if you put together, you don't have to be put together to wear a fragrance, but you know what I'm saying. If you're just looking smart, you're going out, you feel great, and you've got something about yourself a little bit. Dior Homme Parfum is a great fragrance to pull for. Now, this is the other fragrance that should only be worn in cooler weather. Because when this thing first opens up, it pushes and pushes and pushes. And on me, it is a powder bomb. I've heard some people say it does go a little bit powdery on them, but we'll get into it. Let me just show you the bottle. This is 100ml, and this is the newest batch that you can get. I believe when I checked the batch code of this, it is from 2023. Now, you got Tuscan iris, Italian orange, leather rose, sandalwood, ambrette, muskmellow, oud or agarwood, oud and cedar. This opens up powdery. You get the rose, you get the leather. So the iris is present straight away. After a couple of minutes, then I start getting that cosmetic bag, that lipsticky aroma from the iris, but it just gets more powdery and powdery and powdery the longer this sits on my skin. As it starts drying down, you do get a little bit of sweetness from that orange. There is a little bit of sweetness to this fragrance. I wouldn't say this is even a semi-sweet fragrance, but there is a little bit of sweetness in the fragrance in general. Now, as it starts drying down, you get a woodsy undertone that comes through. You've got the sandalwood, which is mixing in with the iris, which does turn this a little bit buttery and creamy. The musk amps up. The musk really does hold this fragrance together. It hugs all the accords, all the notes. And to me, it goes well with the iris in this fragrance. Musky, powdery, a little bit lipsticky. The rose does dry down, but really never fizzles out. The leather quality is there, giving this a very faintly smoky touch. But you obviously also get the aroma of leather. The oud here is very light. At first, I didn't really notice it. Now I can. All it does is add a layer of depth to the fragrance, beefs up that woodsy tone, and does bring in a rich quality. But that's as far as the oud goes in this scent. And that is basically the fragrance in a nutshell. Some blokes, again, will think, rose, how can that be masculine? This is a masculine fragrance, I think, through and through. That is my personal opinion. The rose here comes across a little bit earthy, a little bit stemmy. Some people say, what do you mean by a jammy or an earthy rose? A jammy rose is like a sweet, jammy rose. You know, it comes across smelling a little bit like sweet jam. Hence jammy rose, but also you get the aroma of rose in it. A stemmy rose is what it sounds like. The stalk, the leaves, the spikes, you know, you get that really, I would say almost green, stemmy, woodsy tone from the stem of the rose. That is what is known as a stemmy rose. And to me, this is a stemmy rose. I might have lost you there and went off track a little bit, but it is a great fragrance. I get 8 hours of longevity with this. It hasn't changed. I did wear this the other day because when I was going through the fragrances, I wanted to make sure that I get the longevity right. And I'm still getting 8 hours with this fragrance, just over a little bit. It's a very faint skin scent. I know some people say that their fragrances or their batches of Dior Homme Parfum last 10, 12, 14 hours. I don't get that with this batch. Maybe it's just my skin, but nonetheless, it's a solid fragrance. It's definitely for dressed up and going out. There's no doubt about it. So we can all agree on that one, right? But anyway, that is Dior Homme Parfum. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that is 8 great fragrances. You cannot go wrong with none of these. If you have been following me for a while now, you know that I normally 99.9% of the time put you lot onto absolutely stunning fragrances, and these are. The quality is there. I know, like Unique Luxury, the price might be a little bit higher. Kajol Faris, I think if you was to get that off their website, it's $160. Ganymede has gone up, I think, to £175. Look on discounters. I will leave some links down below in the description. Have you tried these? Do you own these? What do you think of these? I would love to hear your thoughts. And remember, smelling good's always a pleasure and never a chore. Just goes to show, you gotta love smelling great, because I do. Even when I'm wearing one fragrance, I will put another fragrance on. But anyway, that's for a different day. I appreciate you lot, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.